All my life, I was this stereotypical, nerdy, out of shape kid. Because of that, my confidence was super low throughout my teenage years. I didn't realize it then, but I think I was in the worst place you could possibly be at in your physique. I was skinny fat. But what was I doing wrong? I was constantly seeing videos of people achieving my goals, living the life that I wanted to live. There had to be something I was missing. Why couldn't I do it? Everybody online was saying different things. Should you cut first? Should you maybe bulk first and then cut? Should you just maintain? I just wanted to have an aesthetic body. But then, it hit me. Fast forward a couple of years and I am now in the best shape I have ever been in my entire life. I finally cracked the code. It was a long and treacherous journey, full of ups and downs. I learned from my own mistakes, but it doesn't have to be like that for you. I am now ready to share the exact strategy I used to escape the skinny fat trap once and for all. If your goal is to build an aesthetic body as soon as possible, well, you've come to the right place. This video is going to be a full guide to doing exactly that. Well, let's first establish the exact problem that we have and set some goals. So, are you actually skinny fat? Just statistically, if you're watching this video, you probably are. Even if you think that you have a lot of muscle in your frame and you're just a little fat, that's probably not true. And it's nothing to be ashamed about. This is what skinny fat usually looks like. This is an example of me, of what I looked like back in 2022. So basically you have no muscle, but still you have excess body fat. So many young guys will be in this exact position because of a bad diet, because of a bad relationship to food. It's completely fine if you're still at this point. This video is made exactly for you. So what is your next step? Well, you need to understand your own goals. I'm guessing your goal is to build an aesthetic physique as soon as possible. But what do I mean by aesthetic? So an aesthetic body usually entails a low body fat percentage. That is kind of the most important thing. An ideal percentage would be around like 12%, but 15 is very, very valid as well, especially for your first cut. An aesthetic body will also obviously have a muscular frame, giving it that V-taper look. But you might be asking yourself, how exactly do I get to this point from what I look like right now? Well, it's simple. It just comes down to two things. So what we're gonna be doing is doing the so-called body recomposition. Okay, so our top priority when we're at the skinny fat stage, our main goal is to lose fat. Is to lower the body fat percentage, is to lean down. Arguably, the most important thing you can do to be aesthetic is be lean. This gives you muscle definition, this gives you your, desired look. This also gives you a thinner waist, which contributes to that V-taper look. And, a sexy body is a lean body. That's just fact. So we know that our first priority is losing fat, but how do we actually go about it? Well, the answer is gonna be pretty boring. You're just gonna have to be in a calorie deficit. If you by any chance don't know what a calorie deficit is, it is when you eat less calories than you use throughout the day. If you are still struggling with understanding calories, I recommend you watch the video up in the card above. It's a full guide to nutrition from me, where I explain every single aspect of calories, because it is crucial to understand to actually achieve our goals. Alright, so let's keep going. So if you didn't know, the only real way to lose body fat is through a calorie deficit. Basically, every single diet out there, be that keto or low carb or whatever else, comes down to just a calorie deficit. That is the only mechanism that actually drives fat loss. And I know there could be a couple of reasons why you might be hesitating to go into a calorie deficit. You might have heard that it kills your gains and you're not going to be able to build any muscle when you're in a deficit. But that doesn't have to be the case. There is actually a way to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. This is what I did. And I'm going to explain to you how to do it exactly in the next part of the video. So the exact plan for your calorie deficit that I want you to follow is this. First, you go to tdecalculator.com. You find your maintenance calories by inputting all the parameters it wants you to. I'll leave the link in the description. Then you subtract 400 to 500 calories from your maintenance, and that's going to be your daily food consumption. And so many people make this mistake of estimating their calories or estimating their food intake throughout the day. And that's what keeps them fat and miserable forever. You need to track your food to achieve your goals. That is a non-negotiable, and you need to understand tracking systems and their importance. Once you do it for a bit, you understand that it's not that hard. And that's basically everything when it comes to nutrition. That is the most important thing. Create a calorie deficit, and by tracking your food, make sure that you are in that calorie deficit every single day. Also, forgot to mention, You probably know that already, but protein intake is super important. You need to eat at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight in order to build muscle as effectively as possible. Don't overcomplicate things at first. You can do adjustments later. First, you just need to stick to a calorie deficit for a couple of months. Just follow this plan for a while, and only after that make adjustments. You need to gain some experience first before diving into more complicated topics like carb intake or carb loading and whatever. And by doing this, you're not going to be losing any muscle, and you're going to have plenty of energy to function throughout the day. I expect to lose about 0.8 to 1.2 pounds of body weight per week on average. This doesn't mean you're going to be losing a pound of fat every single week, but you know, it's kind of close to it. So at this rate, depending on what body fat percentage you are and how disciplined you stay, you can expect it to take about 6 to maybe 12 months to actually see the progress that you want, to actually, you know, get in shape. Now that we've got the fat part out of the way, let's deal with the skinny part. A common misconception that so many people hold is that you cannot build muscle while in a calorie deficit. You cannot build muscle while losing weight, and that is simply just not true. Muscle hypertrophy is not an energy dependent process, and basically every study shows that. Every study shows that you don't necessarily need a surplus to actually see muscle growth, which is great news for us. That means that by being in a deficit, we're not sacrificing anything. And it means that we can deal both with the fat and the skinny part at the same time. The key to actually building muscle is obviously weight training, if you didn't know for some reason. I'm soon gonna make a full guide to what muscles you need to train and how you need to train them to actually achieve an aesthetic physique, so don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for that. What you basically hear from every corner is you need to do high intensity, and that is exactly true. The basic idea is that you just need to take every single set as close to failure as possible. Especially if you're just beginning, don't overcomplicate things with thinking about your reps in reserve, of taking every set not fully to failure. Just take it to failure, just stick with it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Another core principle is that you need to train each muscle at least 2 times a week. And those 2 points are basically the most important when it comes to training. So if you do that, if you stay consistent, if you stay disciplined, you're basically guaranteed to build muscle, especially if you're a newbie or a beginner. Now, just do what I told you for 6 to 12 months. Keep consistent, stay in a deficit, and train very hard, and you're going to achieve your results. It's just that simple. Okay, so to recap, your first priority as a skinny fat guy needs to be to lose fat, needs to be to lean down to a good looking body fat percentage. And thankfully, while doing it, you can still build a substantial amount of muscle. By being in a deficit, you are not sacrificing anything, and that is the only right answer here. And that's basically how you escape the skinny fat trap. This is basically what I did for a bit more than a year, and well, you can see the progress clearly. So if you'll just follow the simple plan that I told you about, you're basically guaranteed to succeed. If this video was helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. I make videos like this every single week where I teach everything I know about fitness and nutrition. So if you too want to achieve all of your fitness goals, well, you know what to do. I love you. Stay strong.